Well, hey there, how you doing today? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's always great to see you here and have these discussions about these fascinating topics. Yeah, we're going on over 10 years here, and it's just amazing all of these fascinating science and sociological topics that we've talked about over a decade. And I think a lot of it is coming to a fruition with this upcoming U.S. government UFO report that's due technically on June 25th of 2021, as I'm recording this right now in a week. And I made a video about this about 2 months ago. You can go check it out. I'll put the link up here. And the basic idea is, does this report matter or not? And I argued in that video that I think it does. I think it does because it's the first small crack of light that could come through after, honestly, decades of disinformation and lies, obfuscation of the truth, avoidance. You know what I'm talking about. Ever since Roswell and even before that, there's been this attempt by the government and the mainstream of our society, at least here in the U.S., to push this topic away. So the one thing that I'm looking for in this upcoming, technically it's a report from the Director of National Intelligence. The Pentagon is obviously contributing a lot. And we're told there are going to be 120 UFO, UAP cases that the Department of Defense says they don't know what these objects are. They can't identify them. And I think that's potentially very important. The one thing that I'm looking for is simply for them to say, we don't know what they are. That is huge because you can't move forward into a newer paradigm, a new way of looking at reality in the universe until you admit that the old way of looking at things is broken, it doesn't work, it's insufficient. And I've used this example many times. It's very similar to the shift from the Ptolemaic version of the universe that said that the Earth was at the center and all the planets orbited around us. All these planets orbited around the Earth with these epicycles and deference and equants, these very complicated geometrical little tricks that had to be put into the Ptolemaic system to get it to work, to explain why planets have this precession where they seem to move across the sky and then they appear to go backwards for a couple days and then they go forwards again. It's because we're orbiting around the sun. And as we orbit around the sun, we can pass them. We're moving at different speeds. Anyway, that shift 500 years ago or so involving many scientists, Galileo, Copernicus, that wasn't easy to do. People were intimidated back then. They were threatened by the Vatican, by the Inquisition, for proposing another view of the universe. Galileo was held under house arrest, I believe, for the last 10 years of his life. That's serious. You can't go outside your house because he supported the Copernican system. Copernicus didn't even publish his revolution of the orbs until he had passed on because he was afraid of the repercussions. So these big changes in how we look at reality are very significant. They don't happen very often. And the first step is simply to admit the old way of explaining things doesn't work. We don't know what's going on. I think that's a big step. And if this Pentagon U.S. government report simply says, with these 120 objects, that we are, to the best of our ability, we can't explain them. We don't think they're foreign drones, obviously not the good old tried and true explanations, weather balloons and flocks of geese and swamp gas, whatever in the world that is. It does exist. Exceedingly, it's not that common, and it didn't fit with the Dexter, Michigan sightings, as I mentioned. Hynek just pulled that out of a hat. He had to say something to those reporters. But all these alternative explanations, even in the New York Times article, from 2017, where they consulted an expert. He said, these could be symptoms of psychological, neurological overload on the part of the F-18 pilots from the Nimitz, To move away from these ridiculous explanations that never made sense in the first place, these excuses not to look at reality, because this is what we're talking about, is finally we might be at the step, and that's the first step. It's fine in science to say that you don't know. We say this all the time when we're talking about dark matter and dark energy. This like 95 to 98% of the universe that we can't even explain. There's a lot of things we don't know, and just to admit that is fine. So if we can just do that with this report and say there's something out there, we don't know if it's alien, we don't know if it's interdimensional, extra-dimensional, ultra-terrestrial, some other civilization on the Earth that we're not aware of. There are always going to be things that we don't understand. It's the nature of the scientific process. You can read as much as you want, but we know from the work of Alan Turing and Kurt Gödel, and I've made some videos about those in the past, the incompleteness theorem. It doesn't matter what logical system you're using, there are always going to be things that are true that you can't prove, that you don't know about. It's just the blind spots in any logical system. There are always going to be things we don't know, unless you believe the universe is like finite in some way. It's just fixed, but I don't believe that. And I don't think even if you did, we've come anywhere near to exhausting all the information and ideas about the types of life that are out there and the types of things that we could encounter. So just to say that we don't know what it is really opens the door, that necessary first step, that crack to let some light through, to open up to a real national discussion, a global discussion on this phenomena. Every country in the world has experienced this. We know this from when I attended the Citizen Hearing in 2013 at the National Press Club. There were a lot of other pilots and generals, military people from other countries, Latin America, China. There was a researcher there from China. And the former members of the Soviet military have talked about this recently too. Everyone's been seeing these objects. And just to say we don't know what they are is a huge first step. Okay, that's what I think about it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We'll see you in the next video. Take care for now, and bye.